Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So right now we have three different changes being proposed in DC right now, which if passed, would increase payments for all Social Security beneficiaries, whether you're a retiree on SSI or SSDI. So we'll be covering those three different changes that could possibly take place as soon as next year in 2025. Plus, the House just passed a bill which would strengthen the ability for deportation of illegal immigrants based on one criminal act. So we'll be covering that as well, and why actually 150 lawmakers voted against this bill. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $9,000 in free stocks or $9,000 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Webull. All you have to do is once you click on that link, it's just to open up a free account and then deposit at least 1 penny. At that point, Webull will be sending you at least 3 free stocks worth up to $9,000, which once again, if you do not want to invest at this point in time and you'd rather just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive those free stocks is just sell them for what they're worth and then transfer that cash right back to your bank account. Okay, so diving right into our lead story of today's video, like I mentioned just a moment ago, there are 3 different changes right now being proposed in Washington, D.C., which if these changes were to pass in a bill, that would mean increased payments every single year for all Social Security beneficiaries, which would be greatly beneficial. So we're going to dive into the first 2 right now. This is an article by the Motley Fool. They say 2 ways Washington wants to change the cost of living adjustment. So, many retired Americans have struggled with rising prices in recent years. A survey by the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that 58% of retired workers worried they will have to make substantial spending cuts due to inflation. Naturally, rising prices have drawn attention to Social Security benefits, often the largest source of income in retirement. Specifically, while Social Security payments get an annual cost of living adjustment to offset inflation, those adjustments are calculated using the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, also known as CPIW. So basically, there are a couple of different changes they're wanting to make. There are a couple of different indexes for inflation. There's both the CPIW, which is the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, and then they also have the CPIE, which is the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. This tracks more the goods and services that people usually spend on once they reach, let's say, like the age of retirement, 60, 65, 70. Obviously, your spending patterns are going to be changing a little bit versus what they were like, say, for example, in your 20s, possibly 30s. So the first one the first idea they have is to calculate the Social Security COLA using only the CPIE, so they're just going to completely get rid of the CPIW. So the Consumer Price Index for the elderly measures price changes from the perspective of individuals 62 or older. The Social Security Administration estimates that replacing the CPIW with the CPIE would increase COLAs by an average of 0.2% percentage points per year. Several bills proposing that change have been introduced in Congress, including the recent legislation listed below. So one of the ones were by John Larson's the Social Security 2100 Act. And so if you look at the chart here since 2015, you can see that each of these years, for the most part, CPIE has been a little bit higher. So in 2015, the CPIE was 2% versus the CPIW was 1.7%. The following year, CPIE was 0.6% versus the CPIW, where it was 0%, and there was no COLA handed out as well. And then just this past year as well, the CPIE was actually 4% versus the CPIW 3.2%. So this year we all received a 3.2% cost of living adjustment, but it actually would have been 0.8 percentage points higher. So you would have received a good bit amount of more money this year if they had gone with the CPIE. Now, the other change they're proposing right now is to calculate COLAs using the CPIE and the CPIW. So a more aggressive solution would calculate COLAs using whichever measure of inflation was higher, whether that's CPIW or CPIE. So they would look at both of these, whichever was higher is what they would end up going with. So basically, how that would be beneficial, say for example, back in 2023, even though most years we actually have CPIE being higher than CPIW, just for an example, the COLA, where it was 8.7% last year in 2023, the CPI, that was actually the CPIW that was 8.7%. If they had gone with the CPIE in that year, it actually would have only been 8%. So if we had gone with just the CPIE, the amount that you received, the payment increase that you would have received, would have been a bit amount less. So I think looking at both of those could be, of course, more beneficial. You're going to be almost guaranteed a higher increase, and probably at least, I would say, probably 75% of the years you'd be receiving a bigger increase. And then another bill that's out there right now would also increase the amount that you would have in your paycheck for a lot of people, because unfortunately federal taxation takes out a lot of benefits for over 50% of people receiving Social Security benefits. So according to Go Banking Rates, a win-win bill to cut federal taxes would extend funds to 2054. So not only would this bill allow you to keep more of your Social Security check and less going to Washington in the form of taxation, it would also extend the trust fund all the way out to 2054. Whereas right now they're predicting that, say, by like 2033, the Social Security trust fund will be going insolvent, which means for everyone receiving it, if nothing is done, there would be a cut in benefits by anywhere between 20 to 25%. So according to Go Banking Rates, a proposed congressional bill aims to relieve the tax burden on Social Security beneficiaries while also bolstering a key trust fund's finances so it remains fully funded for a longer period of time. One lawmaker referred to the bill as a win-win, though it likely faces an uphill battle making it into law. The bill, dubbed the You Earned It, You Keep It Act, was reintroduced last week by U.S. Representatives Angie Craig and Yadira Caraveo. It proposes to repeal federal taxes on Social Security benefits and delay the looming insolvency of the program's Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund by 2 decades to 2054, Think Advisor reported. So those are 3 different changes that, if passed, once again, would allow you to either receive more benefits on a year-to-year basis through your cost of living adjustment, or of course keep more of your paycheck. So I guess a win-win for all 3 of those. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Now, in some other news, the House recently just passed a bill which would strengthen the ability for deportations to take place of illegal immigrants based on one criminal act, that criminal act being a DUI. So according to The Hill, the House passed bills strengthening ability to block immigrants for DUIs, and you would think this would probably be a largely bipartisan bill. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, you would think they would be largely against DUIs. Of course, mistakes do happen, but whenever you drink, make sure to just set up a Uber in place, set up a cab driver, have a friend that's not drinking, drive you home. Because not only is this going to impact you and your life, but it could possibly impact others as well. Like if it delays your ability to steer out in time, you end up hitting someone, killing someone, or just hitting someone and injuring someone very badly. This is something should be largely looked down upon and something very regretful. But we actually had 150 lawmakers vote against this, saying that no, we should not make this an automatic offense for deportations. So according to The Hill, the House passed a bill Thursday strengthening the laws to prevent non-citizens convicted of driving under the influence from immigrating to the country or to deport them. The bill passed with a 274 to 150 vote, with 59 Democrats joining all 215 Republicans in backing the legislation. DUIs are already grounds for deportation in some cases, and it's well understood by those seeking to gain residency that such a conviction can hinder the process of adjusting their status. But the bill passed by the House targets conflicts between state and federal law that sometimes allow past DUI convictions to not be considered in an immigration case, and it also makes all misdemeanor DUI offenses a grounds both for deportation and making someone inadmissible for adjusting their status. And then we have the House Majority Leader and Steve Scalise. He said, with the seriousness of the crime and the potential deadly consequences, you would think that if an illegal immigrant was caught driving under the influence, they would be deported and barred from re-entering the country. Unfortunately, however, that is not always the case. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you believe that a DUI should be an automatic removal of illegal immigrants from this country, or do you believe that maybe they should be forgiven for maybe like a first time basis? Would love to hear your thoughts in comments below, but that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.